Thank you, Mr. President-elect. You just said a couple of minutes ago that there's no time to waste when it comes to economic stimulus, but Democrats and Republicans have been in a stalemate for several months as they have been negotiating and trying to talk about what kind of stimulus to put together. You were elected by more than 80 million people to try to break that logjam. Can you talk about specifically what you have done over these past several weeks to actually work with Democrats and Republicans, speaking to congressional leaders to get them to agree on a stimulus package? And what do you say to people like Senator Sanders on the left flank of your party who have come out against this stimulus program already? They have said that this $900 billion deal is not good enough.
Well, it would be kind of stupid for me to tell you what I did, wouldn't it? Because it'd be kind of hard to do it again. I told you all that I was confident we'd get a bipartisan agreement on this stuff. And I think we will, not just on this package, but I think beyond. And the last thing I'm going to do is tell you strategically how I go about this. I remember I used to get asked the same thing when I was putting together significant deals between Democrats and Republicans when I was a senator and vice president. It's just not a very smart thing. It's like me asking you, tell me how you get your sources and how'd you get those sources you got in order to get that story. It would be ridiculous for you to tell me or your colleagues how you did it. All I can say is I'm confident there are a sufficient number of Democrats and Republicans in the United States Senate, along with significant votes coming out of the House of Representatives, to put together a serious package that will keep us from going off the edge here, provide the kind of resources that are needed immediately. It's not going to satisfy everybody, but the option is if you insist on everything, we're likely to get nothing on both sides. And so I think they're on their way to being able to come up with a package that meets the basic immediate needs that we have. But I've made it real clear, it's just a down payment. This is not the end of the deal. So I've been relatively good at negotiating over my career because I never, number one, reveal something somebody doesn't want me to in the deal, and number two, because I always keep my word.
There are a number of progressives, including Senator Sanders, who have criticized this deal in part because it does not include the $1,200 checks that were in the last deal. What do you say about that? They say that the American people who are hurting, maybe not the small businesses, but just the everyday families, they don't have anything in this deal. They're not getting any of the stimulus that's in this $900 billion package.
That's not what I understand, but I think it would be better if they had the $1,200. I understand that may be still in play. But I'm not going to comment on the specific details. The whole purpose of this is we've got to make sure people aren't thrown out of their apartments, lose their homes, are able to have unemployment insurance they can continue to feed their families on as we grow back the economy, be in a position where we provide for help to localities so they're not continuing to lay off school teachers and firefighters, et cetera, first responders, and to make sure we're in a position that we're able to generate the kind of growth that is a consequence of this by allowing, it costs a lot of money to keep schools and businesses open. On the COVID side of the equation, they're all pieces should be in it. There's much more. If I were writing it, I think the proposal that, quite frankly, the HEROES Act that the House passed, that's what I would support. But, this is a democracy, and there are, you've got to find a sweet spot where you have enough people willing to move in a direction that gets us a long way down the road, but isn't the whole answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President-elect. You're describing this compromise bill as a down payment, that you'll push Congress to do more once you're in office. But this bill is already more than Republican leaders want to spend. What if this isn't a down payment? What if this bill is it? What are your options then to get Americans additional relief?
I never start off thinking that way. I always start off believing we can get it done. We'll get it done.
But it's been more than 6 months this fight has been going on. Mitch McConnell still hasn't even signed off yet on this compromise bill. What makes you so confident that you will be able to get Republicans to go big once you're in office?
Well, because the country's going to be in dire, dire, dire straits if they don't.
Have you reached out to Leader McConnell? Have the two of you spoken yet?
We'll be in dire trouble if we don't get cooperation. I believe we will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President-elect. You noted today that 1 in 6 renters are behind in their rent. Millions of Americans remain unemployed. You say the situation is urgent. When you come into office, do you expect to pass executive orders dealing with those specific issues? And also, do you at all plan to pass trillions of dollars of aid? Is that what you have in mind when you say we need to go big, or are we looking at billions of dollars?
We're looking at hundreds of billions of dollars. Look, again, I've learned after hanging around in this business for a while, the last thing you do before you begin a negotiation is lay down a drop-dead marker. And if it's not this, I'm not going to talk to you. I think there's a lot we can get done. And I think people are going to see the overwhelming necessity. What's going to start to happen is a lot of folks who represent Republican districts are going to find their Republican neighbors are in real trouble as things get worse. They're going to find that there's an overwhelming need as these numbers skyrocket. You remember my saying that I believe the experts we'd had at least another 250 dead before the end of the year. And they went, oh, no, all right. Guess what? Look what's happening. It's going to get much worse. It's going to get much worse. And so I believe that there are enough Republicans who will join enough Democrats in the United States Senate to get a majority, along with the House, to get it done. But we'll see. We'll see. This is a step at a time.
And on executive orders?
Well, I'd issue executive orders that are totally within the purview of an executive. But one of the things I don't like is I don't like people saying that I can, by executive order, do the following things, which there is no basis in the Constitution to suggest it can be done. So there are certain things I can do. I can issue executive orders pulling back some of the executive orders that Trump put forward. But I can't issue an executive order saying we're going to spend X billion dollars on this issue without getting Congress appropriates and is responsible for distributing that money.